Hello everybody and welcome to your Season 9 Artio guide. We're going to be taking Artio right over into the solo lane. Now for your starter items, you still do have that Warrior's Axe, but I personally do not like the Warrior's Axe in the solo lane right now. I like the more aggressive items, and I do like the late game sustain that you can get out of a Vamp Shroud. I just simply like it. Looking at their composition as well, they look like they are rocking a Chalk solo. So I'm going to be going immediately into a Jade.
I guess I could bring Granny a surprise item.
What is this thing called? Jade Emperor's Crown. Now, unfortunately, this item is getting nerfed pretty soon. So you have to kind of buy it while you still can. They're kind of changing this item to discourage people from buying it in the early game. Just like if you don't click the like button, comment down below, it discourages YouTube from sending out the video to everybody's feed. So please make sure you like, comment, and make sure you're subscribed and ring that bell for notifications so you never miss a video. Artio is going to be more of a solo laner than she is a support, even though she is a guardian. You almost always see Artio over in the solo lane. Her kit really vibes more with that backline diving god, get all up in their business than she necessarily does with like a keep your team alive, sustain peel type of character for your backline, which is why you traditionally will see her over in that solo lane. At level 1, we grabbed our 1, and of course, because Artio is a stance switcher, that means that we get 2 abilities right on off of that. And with our Vamp Shroud, we're gonna have a lot of damage actually over here pretty early. And we're gonna have a bit of a sustained battle with Chalk. Doesn't really matter what stance you're in when you're first starting. The only thing you need to be paying attention to on the Artio is you want to always keep in mind that was a great rotation by our Suki to give me that first blood or first blooded. That was really more of a fantastic jungler rotation than anything else. The one thing you want to be paying attention to is this little group of icons right above Artio. This is going to let you know the cooldowns of your other abilities. So when I switch stances, you can see that I can now see the cooldowns of my 1, my 2, and my 3 in my druid form compared to my bear form. That is very, very helpful, and it's kind of where your eyes are going to be half the time in Artio, because that is going to be your indication of, oh, I can switch back over and use the ability because I know that the cooldown is up. As far as our level or our order on Artio is concerned, we grabbed our 1 at level 1, then we grabbed our 3 at level 2. Our 3 is our getaway skill on Artio. After that, we put a second point into our 1 for the clear. At level 4, we grabbed a point in our 2, which is going to be providing us with that nice big cripple effect, as well as the stun. I'm gonna go ahead and use that stun right now so I can try to secure the blue. Dang, 30 HP off of securing that blue, but the attempt was correct nonetheless. Once we're out of that basic beginning leveling, we are gonna be maxing our 1 first. It's gonna be our main source of damage, as well as a great form of sustain. Don't forget the Artio Druid 1 heals you and your team. That heals you and your team as long as they are within range, compared to your Druid 3, which just has sustain for you only.
Big back, stranger.
Actually, might be able to get another kill here. I don't have my blue buff, but if I would have stolen that blue buff, I might be able to kill him right there. As far as that, you get the 1 to max first, level up that Maul. Then here's the thing on Artio that's kind of funky. Her ultimate isn't really an ultimate. It is in fact a stance switch. Stance switches in Smite historically not that important to level up. Getting a point into it can be okay because it does give you a little bit of movement speed and MP5 per stack, and you can get decent value out of just putting 1 point into it. I'm gonna go ahead and back up, buy a Jade Emperor's Crown, buy a Chalice of Healing, teleport back, and on my next back I will rank up that teleport to max. But on Artio, I really don't focus on her ultimate at all. I like to max out my 1 and my 3 as fast as humanly possible. Get as much damage on that front as I can. And then I actually like to level up to 2 to max, and then the ultimate. When you level up to 2, you're going to increase the duration of that cripple effect, which is just so dang strong. You're going to increase the amount of protections that you get from the roar. You're going to increase the stun duration. It's actually a really, really good ability to actually focus on leveling up, which is why I like to level Artio 1, 3, 2, 4, actually getting that ultimate ranked up last. Although, like I said, you can put 1 point in it just so you start getting some of that bonus movement speed, just so you start getting some of that MP5 from your ability spam. Nothing wrong with 1 point. Artio as a character is really more of a early game lane bully. In the mid game, she tends to be okay. And then back in the late game, she becomes annoying again. So she kind of has a weird scaling on her. Early game, she tends to kind of run the lane because she's got so much built-in sustain. And then in the middle of the game, she tends to lose that kill potential. So she drops off a little bit in the mid game as you and the solo laner are just kind of sitting there, beating back and forth, and nothing's really happening. And then in the late stages of the game, once we get into the late stages of the game and we're able to dive the backline, we become really annoying for the enemy hunter, the enemy mage, because we're gonna walk up to them, we're gonna hit them with this big old massive beefy cripple effect, and they're gonna be like, wow, mister, it would sure be nice if I could use the abilities that Smite gave me. And you're gonna be like, no, you're not gonna use any abilities. What you're gonna do is you're gonna sit here and you're not gonna be able to click any buttons and you're not gonna have a fun time. And that's what my class is designed to do. And they have to say, thank you, Artio. You're so big and strong. For our second item this game, I'm actually gonna take myself, well, let's see, physical, triple physical, double magical, but they actually have a lot of good magical damage because it's an Ares and an Agni. So I'm actually gonna get a second item, Pestilence, to start to get some anti-heal online for the chalk, knowing that my third item is going to be a Breastplate of Valor, which means that if I grabbed a Contagion right now, I would have 3 physical defense items in a row. And then the Ares and the Agni would start to destroy me in the rotations. So I am going to get some magical defense online now with that Pestilence. For our lane matchups on Artio, she really doesn't have a bad lane matchup. That's kind of her point. She's actually very similar to Chalk in that regard. She's kind of the Guardian version of Chalk in terms of if you don't know what to play in solo, you don't know what you're doing, chances are Artio's gonna have a good chance to win the lane, and she's probably gonna have a good matchup into whoever you're going against. Because as it turns out, having a ton of abilities that early in the game, having a ton of sustain, having a ton of CC, and having a great movement ability makes you a generally good character. As far as what you are looking to preferably go against, though, on the enemy team, you're looking for a team that is very reliant on movement-based abilities. Dashes is great, leaps is even better. So somebody like Bastet, Artio can do really, really well into. Because all I have to do is get in range of him, bring him under that cripple, and then if he doesn't have beads up, he has to sit in a 4 to 6 second cripple. And if he has already used his first jump, and then he can't leap back. That'll also go through the entire timer of his leap back, so he can't use it at all. Compared to somebody like Heim, Heim does not actually get affected by my cripple at all because he is using a teleport. So he will not be affected by me. The Ares does not have a movement ability. He will not be affected by me. He will not care whatsoever about my cripples and my nonsense. He will be like, I am just going to throw down a chain, and my chain is not affected at all by this. But gods like Fenrir get wrecked. Gods like Bastet have a really bad time against Artio. Gods like Rama, etc. All of those movement-based characters. On this back, I should be able to go ahead and grab my Pestilent. Yeah, I need just about one more wave here, because what I want to do is I want to rank up my Pestilence, and then I want to rank up my Teleport to max as well, so that way I can have that nice enhanced Teleport for on the way back. Don't want to use it one more time at that last level. Active level. Also going to give me a nice opportunity to get some more poke here out onto the Chalk, who had used his teleport recently. Now we're going to grab ourselves the Pestilence. Boom. Grab ourselves that ranked up teleport. I'm also going to get rid of this extra health potion that I had so I can make room for a couple of regular wards so I can put them out deep since I've got nice pressure over in the solo lane. As far as God pairings with Artio, you don't really pair anything with Artio, which is kind of the case for most solo laners. Most of the game, she's going to be over by herself, and then by the time we actually get to the team fights, my one purpose is going to be to dive, and just press the gas pedal straight at the back line and kind of go wreck them. So she's not really a God that you focus on pairing with other people, because she's not running the solo lane. You're not really looking to set up the mid laner for a wombo combo. The only thing that I would say with running an Artio in the solo lane is that does mean you're gonna have some extra magical damage. And so just pay attention to your overall team composition and make sure that you don't have too much magical damage. Traditionally, you're going to have that warrior over in the solo lane, providing you with some more physical damage. So if you end up in a situation where, let's say you have a Ao Kuang in the jungle, and you're like, ooh, I'm going to play Artio jungle, I'm going to play Artio solo, just double check, look at your full team comp. If you've got that mage over in mid, if you've got a Guardian in solo, if you're trying to run a magical jungler on your team, not the time to pick the Artio solo. You do want to make sure you have a lot of physical damage on your team. Physical is important, but standardly, you're going to have magical mid, magical support, physical jungler, physical ADC, and so solo lane does have the ability to kind of be a flex pick and go whichever way that you would like to.
The enemy team has destroyed.
But just keep in mind and pay attention, really, no matter what role you're playing, to the overall makeup of your team. You don't want to be that guy that locks in the Guardian and now it's 4 magicals and their entire team is out here building heart words and bulwarks of hopes, and then all of a sudden your team isn't doing any damage and they're like, would have been nice to have a Wukong, bro. Now we're gonna back it up. We're gonna start working on Breastplate of Valor for the cooldown. In this game, I actually have to get a beads. Preferably on Artio, you would end up with like a blink, so you can blink into the back line. That way you can keep your dash up as an escape ability. But they have an Ares on their team. They've got a Bastet ult. They've got Heim ult. They have got massive CC abilities out the wazoo. And I am sure that everybody here has watched enough SPL games where the tank didn't get a beads and then they got Fenrir ulted over and over and over again, or something to that extent, and you're like, wow, they probably should have just gotten a beads. This is one of those games where if I got another 10 minutes into it, I would have thought to myself, wow, I should have just gotten a bead. So instead of having to think of that in hindsight, in foresight, I'm gonna just grab it. Now this could be a good fight for a team. I'm gonna go ahead and get in the range of the Agni. I'm gonna throw down my cripple. Chalk is going to ulti me out of the range of him. I'm gonna dash myself back towards this Agni. Make sure I've got those chalices proccing. Start to root him again. He does have more CDR than me. So now I'm gonna run towards this Bastet. She throws down a little root. So I can't keep in the range of the cripple on her either, but that is okay. She actually jumped back into this fight, which is gonna give me another opportunity to come back in here and look at him. Gonna throw down that root from long range. He goes to the beach, doesn't matter, he's gonna die anyway. And now I can continue this fight towards the Agni. I don't want to get too greedy here, so I'm not gonna dive into the tower or anything. And we're gonna call that a big ol' win. I'm gonna back up, give my breastplate of valor, and teleport back in over to the solo lane with a sentry ward that I can put down over on the fire giant and go do my blue buff. So on Artio, there is not really a standard rotation. A lot of gods just have a standard rotation, but because Artio has so many abilities, it's really just about what is the situation that you are in. If you need to close the distance, try to close the distance with your Druid Form 3, going for that root before you go for the Bear Dash. That way you can keep up your movement ability if you need to get away. In general, try to start off a big fight with your stun for the setup for your mage if you can. If you're about to be in range of like 3 people, give them a nice stun. Set up your team for that big follow-up damage. Wait until after the stun or right before the stun is about to end, and then follow up with the cripple for maximum crowd control duration. And you can feel free to basically spam your ones at any given time as a form of damage and sustain. Really, whenever they are up, not a big secret to using those. It's just kind of like, oh, it's up, I'm gonna spam it.
Your middle tower is under
Stay back, stranger.
At this stage of the game in solo lane, this is when the rotations really start to happen. Right around, I would say, probably the 12 to 16 minute marker or so is when you're gonna start seeing solo laners getting involved in the team fights. In order to kind of know how to go about that, I need to be careful right here. Luckily, I've kept my dash up so I can try to get out of here. I do have my beads up as well. Gonna try to throw down a stun onto this chalk while I am running away, and I can teleport back in. What you would prefer to do on your solo laner, I'm actually gonna get me a breastplate of determination. I'm not gonna get the vigilance on Artio because of the nature of how vigilance would work on her, because my ultimate is that stance switch. I'm using it all the time, which means I'd rather have the determination just for the generic defenses. I'm gonna run up to this Agni with my cripple out. He is immediately in that cripple. He cannot get away. I'm using my dash to go in on this. Then I'm gonna follow up with the stun, which helps set up my Ra. It gives him a nice, easy kill right there. Looking towards the Bastet. She may jump all the way back. That is fine, but I'm actually gonna stick a little bit back closer to my team since they are doing some decent damage to me. Ares is going for the ult, so I'm actually gonna stun Bastet, quickly switch over and hit her with my cripple so she cannot jump out of my combo, but she uses the beads in order to get out of it, but we are able to follow it up with a little bit of a long range through right there. No need for me to use beads right here on that Chockle. Didn't have any cooldowns up anyway. At this point, I'm kind of looking at the Ares because he's going to be an easier kill target for us, but it looks like the fight is mostly over. So I'm going to break back over and continue my fight in the solo lane. Now back to what I actually wanted to talk about before I was so rudely interrupted by a team fight. You would prefer to get your farm first in the solo lane. So how you're not gonna fall behind in the solo lane while also rotating and helping out your team,
Left tower is under attack.
is you would like to clear all of your farm, whether that's your blue buff, a wave, whatever's up at the time. You want to clear all that, and then you want to teleport or walk, depending on how much time you have, over to that fight. So say there's going to be a Gold Fury fight that's going to break out. I want to make sure I get my blue. I want to make sure I clear a wave or two, so that way I am not missing any farm. And then I go for the big rotation.
Attack
So
the
I'm going
Gold
to call for
Fury.
the attack Gold Fury, because what I really want to do here is I want to teleport over towards the solo lane, but it actually looks like that they're putting a lot of effort into coming towards me. I'm going to start channeling that teleport just so they have to use a stun to interrupt me. I'm going to die here anyway, so that's fine. But my team is actually going to get themselves a free Gold Fury, as I'm going to continue to just kind of waddle away and be annoying. Don't want to bring them too close to the fire giant because they could go for it, and it looks like they might actually start
Defend
it.
the fire
So now I'm going to
giant.
call for that defend fire giant because they are doing big fire. Gonna take a gander at what damage I was taking most. Looks like a pretty good solid split between the physical and magical damage. My team has shown up. My Ra used his ultimate pretty early. Unfortunately, it looks like on that fire giant, they actually might not have had enough damage to burn it if he would have just looked for a couple of kills and stuff instead, but that's okay. So for our next item here, we start to have a lot of options. If you want to go more aggressive, you've got items like the Legion Helm, you've got items like the Plate Helm that let you be more aggressive. If you want to be more defensive, Genji's Guard is a fantastic item on basically all ability based gods, whether physical or magical. Guan Yu loves this item. Artio loves this item. Anybody that's got a bunch of abilities to spam loves this item. It brings me up to 30% CDR, which means I'm about 40% CDR with either a red pot or a blue buff on me.
Your middle tower
And when I get hit by that magical damage, which Lord knows I'm going to be hit by magical damage in a team fight when they got an Agni on their team, means I'm going to get that minus 3 seconds of cooldowns, and that's going to proc on everything. And I'm basically going to have a full set of ability rotations back up. Not to mention, brings me up to a nice, healthy 200 magical protections right now. Now, in these late game team fights, my main focus is going to be on the Agni and the Bastet. The reason why I am going to be going for the Agni and the Bastet
to the ready. Get riggedy ready.
is because, one, with the Agni dead, that is the majority of their magical damage off the board. So if he is not participating in these fights, then they are missing a significant amount of their overall damage. And two, the Bastet, because the Bastet is the god that my cripple is most going to affect, is most going to provide problems for. And she's also, if I had to guess, she is their top kills, while Agni is their top damage. So they're also two of the best performing gods currently on the enemy team. Next up, we are going to rank up our starter item into Blood-Soaked Shroud. Blood-Soaked Shroud is going to give us a bunch of sustain. You can see that their team, unfortunately, has gone quite a bit of anti-healing. This is because we have a Ra on our team as well as the Artio, which means that they were encouraged to build a lot of anti-heal. Still going to provide us with a lot of good value, not to mention it also gives us a lot of physical defenses as well, on top of the HP, and it really is a solid end game item.
Your Titan is under attack. Let's go.
Gonna buy another Sentry Ward.
Sneaky.
Make sure you're buying those Sentry Wards in pretty much every role all the time after about that 8 or so minute marker. Want to make sure you've got vision on the board. Vision is power. Vision means pickoffs. Pickoffs means objectives. Objectives mean turning around games.
under attack.
And then as far as our last item goes on Artio, that's basically a free slot. A lot of times solo lane builds, really a lot of builds in Smite right now, I would say have like a 5 slot, pretty solid set of items that you buy. And then that 6 slot is kind of free. You've got that over in the duo lane with the hunters who run a lot of the same 5 items. You've got that over in the solo lane. Whether you're a physical auto attack god going the Berserker Shield build, or whether you're more ability based god going this kind of like Genji's breastplate ability build. The last slot is kind of always situational. You can use it to grab a bunch more protections. If you're vibing and feeling yourself, you can use it to get some more power online. You can use it to buy some sort of supporty item for the team.
You are.
Some sort of counter item like a Witchblade because they've got a bunch of auto attackers, etc., etc. You really do have a lot of freedom right now in Smite on specifically that 6th item. So here at the end of the game, what we need to do now is we're going to need to get pressure into the mid lane
Team has destroyed the gold
because
fury.
they do have that mid Phoenix down while also maintaining our presence over by that fire giant so we can contest it. So we need to be mostly grouped up. We need to have one high clear god over in the mid lane. Preferably our Medusa or our Ra, just somebody that sits over here that can actually clear this wave because we can't afford to let this push into our Phoenix and kill it again when it goes for a respawn here in a couple of minutes. So we need to make sure that it's continuing to be pushed up. And as the solo laner, I need to make myself known over in the front line. I need to get some presence out so that way the other guys on my team can actually move forward when the time comes. I also can set up some nice poke opportunities for the team as well. Right now I can run right at the Bastet, see if I can get some stuff off of her. Not quite gonna be able to get anything, but we did get the Bastet ult down, and that counts. Looks like they're gonna send a lot of pressure actually over towards me, which is fine. Keeping it off the team. Chalk's gonna dive into the back line. I'm gonna get here with this cripple. Try to help out the team like that. Gotta pop the beads here for the air result. And it doesn't look like we're gonna have quite enough damage this game in order to be able to get through them. I'm also not entirely sure if our Tsukiyomi was grouped up with us, which is a little bit unfortunate. Seems that their magic damage is the most problematic right now. So I'm gonna grab myself a nice Bulwark of Hope here at the end. Looks like the Agni damage, those Agni bombs are providing a lot of issues for me. So get myself some additional protection as well as that shield, which will also help with the physical damage. Bulwark of Hope, generically good item right now. Now, I don't have much of an opportunity to steal this as Artio. It doesn't look like my Ra is going to be able to get in range, but I am going to try to buy some time for him to get over here. Not quite going to be able to do it, but I might be able to go for a big stun, and then we get a huge snipe follow-up, and that's exactly what we're looking for right there. Wasn't going to be able to get the fire giant steal because we were too late, but we can go for one massive setup play by getting that big snipe online, and hopefully we can get rid of these last 2 fire giants, or at least one more on this Ares, which would be huge. And all of a sudden now they've only got one person with the fire giant, and we can actually probably take this tier 2 tower as well, and the tier 2 over in the mid lane. Kind of what we talked about earlier with using that Artio stun in order to set up your big ability, and then afterwards following right into your cripple. So all the low HP targets can't even get away if they wanted to. Now we do need to be careful here because they are going to be respawning soon. So we need to be respectful of this respawn. I'm gonna go ahead and call for the retreat. We really shouldn't be here. You can see this is getting quite greedy. Their respawn timers are going to be too soon here. And now they are gonna get a small opportunity for a counter push back down on us because the Medusa is dead for 50. But we are allowed to finish up our Bulwark of Hope. And I'm also gonna get myself a Temporal Beads. Temporal Beads pairs really well with the Genji's Guard, because Genji's Guard gives us minus cooldown Purification beads, when you rank it up into that, gives you more 3 seconds off a cooldown. Cooldown on you, cooldown on you, cooldown. Now you're spamming more abilities. Now, I don't think they're going to go right down for that mid Phoenix. If I had to guess, they're going to go get that left T2 off the board. And getting that left T2 off the board is totally fine. We don't need to protect that until we get our Medusa up. But now that our Medusa is up, we actually have the capabilities to go and fight out here. They've only got the one fire giant. I've got all my actives up. I am ready to go, and we can be the ones pressuring right now instead of them. This is basically going to be 2 teams looking for a quick pick. Luckily, we have the beads online, so we can stop the Bastettle or something if it comes our way. Gonna throw down a little sentry over here so we get some vision. Gonna go ahead and stun that Ares so he can immediately go for the ulti or the chains on me. Looks like Chalk has been getting into our back line. Getting a lot of pressure on it that way. Gonna go for the stun here and then immediately follow that up into the cripple, which forces Bastet to actually use her ultimate. Trying to keep the pressure on this over here. It looks like Heim is gonna get a lot of damage on me, but I've still got my beads and I've still got my teleport. So I'm actually gonna back it up and then I'm gonna teleport back into this fight. I'm gonna teleport in behind them and I'm also gonna grab myself a potion of power on my way back into this fight, and I'm now back at full HP. I'm gonna send myself right towards the Agni, hit him with the stun, then follow up with the cripple, so he has to use the beads in order to get out of it. Start following up with a little bit of a root. My ability's already back up, so I can start chasing him again, and I should be able to finish off the Agni kill for us, as well as make my way back towards the Bastet, who I am going to start rooting with my long range 3, finish her off with the 1. And this is why we love teleport on solo laners, because as long as we don't get 100 to 0, that means we're at full HP. Just basically waiting to dash again at this guy. He procced my Genji's guard, so he's gonna go down for sure. Fire Giant is still dead. There's really not much for us to do off of this, but we have started to turn the tide a little bit, and we are starting to win some of these team fights, which is nice. Gonna try to go up and steal blue buff, and they do have one up, just to take a little bit of their CDR away from them.
Stay back, stranger.
Great game, by the way. Very even back and forth game. Very rare that you get a Smite game that is this close nowadays in the season. Now we're gonna back it up. We're gonna grab ourselves a sentry ward, and we need to get everybody's butts back around the fire giant, because it is enhanced fire giant o'clock fight. Bastet is over in the left lane, so if we could force a fight really soon, that would be hugely beneficial for us. I'm gonna try to run right up into this Agni's business, go for the stun. I get the stun, I also get the cripple, which means he does not have any beads up from earlier, so we should be able to get ourselves a real quick pick onto this Agni. We are gonna be able to get him right off the bat. I'm gonna dash right towards this Heim. I've got the beads up if I need it for him. I'm gonna continue to call for this fight right now. I'm gonna start rooting the Chalk. We might not even need the fire giant. I'm gonna throw down the cripple on the Chalk, pop that bead so I can continue chasing for him, hit him with a stun. Hopefully we can get somebody to follow up with me. It's gonna be pretty close to me dying right here in the back, but she actually used her jump, so now she might die as well. And this team might be able to end the game. They've got the raw heals, they've got the Ganesh tank. All they've got is a Chalk, and they've got 30 seconds with 1 Phoenix and 1 Titan. I can also teleport back in if I need to off the respawn. Gotta make sure I call for the attack the Titan for them. Hopefully nobody loses their fear here. They got 15 seconds, 1 shot, good Aegis from our Ra, and he should be able to put this game away with that Ra ultimate damage. So really, the only mistake that really happened this game was a combination of 2 things, and it all revolved around the earlier Fire Giant. In an attempt to live a little bit longer, I kited the enemy team into the jungle. And kiting the enemy team into the jungle brought them a little too close to the fire giant. I was trying to lead them away from it, but then I was like, if I can live for another 6 seconds, that'll stop them from doing the fire. I actually probably should have just kept running down the lane, so that way I would have bought a little bit more time for them to walk over to the fire giant. And then the Suki didn't rotate over to that fire after I had called for them to defend it. So they also got that fire for free. So that whole first kind of fire that the enemy team got was really the biggest mistake that our team made all game at various kind of levels. But the rest of that, very solid performance by everybody. Very annoying Artio in the backline. And that is why Artio is a super duper annoying god in Smite Season 9. So I hope you learned something. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to help support the Twitchiest community. And I hope you enjoyed your Season 9 Artio guide. Thank you for supporting the Twitchiest community. If you'd like to see more videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel and always hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. Thank you for all your support and have a Twitchin' day, y'all.